is for people who still have UC or Crohn's symptoms after trying other medications. And Humira helps people achieve remission that can last, so you can experience few or no symptoms. Humira can lower your ability to fight infections. Serious and sometimes fatal infections, including tuberculosis and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, or proton infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection. Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible. What would Joe Biden's plan do for you? Biden's plan is a 14% tax hike on middle-class families. 82% of Americans would pay more. And Biden's plan gives illegal immigrants amnesty and health care. Joe Biden's a career politician who spent decades raising taxes. So what would the Biden plan do for you? Raise your taxes. That's it. I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. They're smart, and they're street smart. Like a hybrid with an available best-in-class EPA estimated range of 582 miles. And Ford Copilot 360 technology to help you outsmart some of the things you encounter on the road. With an available best-in-class second-row legroom. This is the completely reimagined Street Smart 2020 Ford Escape. Here's to the doers. To all the people who realize they can do more with less asthma. Thanks to Dupixent, the add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma. Dupixent isn't for sudden breathing problems. It can improve lung function for better breathing in as little as 2 weeks and help prevent severe asthma attacks. It's not a steroid.
gonna be a good boy. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Judy. How's it going?
Oh, wait, am I muted?
No, I can. Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good,
What
good.
been up to?
Oh, you know, yard cleanup and fun stuff like that. How about you?
Oh, not much.
Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Marka.
Morning, Marka.
Morning.
Hi, Louise. Hi. Say, Marka, mine, it says it's recording. How do I shut that off?
There should be a stop button. It says pause, stop recording at the bottom.
It says stop video.
Um,
No, there's record. Okay, and then it says please record permission from the host.
yeah, I don't think you can record.
Okay.
I think you might just have your camera on, which is good. I don't know. I'm not a master at this, but.
Okay, well, whatever.
Great answer. A couple minutes.
Stiff today.
Is it?
I don't know why. Well, I did a lot of back stuff yesterday morning when you were down here walking.
Oh,
A lot of stretching in the back and twisting and turning and all of that.
Katie.
That could be it.
Hi, Katie.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late, like always.
You're late for early, but you're not late. We haven't started yet.
Oh, yay! Too many multitasking.
Oh, I know. You hit the ground running this morning?
No, just wanted to brush my teeth.
Fair enough.
Know how it is.
you want clean teeth for this?
You betcha.
I had to, it was a must.
Let's see, Mary.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, Katie. Good to see you.
Move your blocks to one side.
Well,
Are you up north?
No,
Okay.
in a couple days.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's those farming things you gotta do.
where I can also reach it. No, it won't cause a problem. It's just, it might also block the
What do
heat.
we need today?
A couple blocks,
Blocks?
couple blankets, and a strap.
Oh, perfect. I'm all set.
Good.
We have another one.
So it is 8. I'm gonna mute us. Hi, John. Good morning.
Aye.
Let's see.
Yeah, I guess I'll use the red.
There we go. All right, so let's come to seated and just prepare for our back bending practice this morning. You can take your less dominant crossing of your legs and just take a moment to arrange yourself so that you feel anchored into the floor. Your legs feel heavy, your hips are somewhat surrendered. Give yourself support if you need to, if your hips are tight, your groins are tight. Just take a moment to find more extension in the torso by pressing down into the floor. Once you feel like you have aligned yourself in this seated position, join the hands in front of the heart without the shoulders rounding forward. And closing your eyes, just looking down away from the brain. And see if you can just become more fully present to your here and now experience through the portals of sensation, to the attention to your breath. Noticing the thoughts passing through the mind this morning. Noticing any emotional feelings that are present. And of course, just kind of take a few moments to be attentive to your breathing without trying to alter your breath in any way. And keeping the chest lifted and spread, bow towards your heart. Release your hands. And on an in-breath, let your head lift, open your eyes gently, and welcome. We're going to be coming into a back bending practice this week and still working with the idea that our back bends are only as good as our legs. Our forward bends are only as good as our legs. So we're going to be very attentive to the legs as we practice back bends today. And we're going to start seated with the 6 actions of the spine. So if you want to switch the crossing of the legs, feel free. We're just going to start with some flexion and extension, kind of doing the false clap method. So just begin with your arms extended sideways. And on an in-breath, take the wrists back, bring the heart center forward, look slightly up. And on an exhalation, almost bringing the hands completely together, rounding the spine and tucking the chin into the chest. And just begin to line this simple movement pattern up with your breathing, opening on the in-breath. Try not to pinch the shoulder blades together, coil them in toward the chest, keeping some distance between the inner shoulder blades. Try to keep the arms fully extended. And hang in that breath. As long as you're breathing in, you can stay in that big heart opener. And as long as you're exhaling, just keep rounding and opening the back body. We'll do it a couple more times. And finish up here, either your inhale, your exhale, just finish the next breath. And on an in-breath or exhale, you can transition back to neutral spine. We're going to come into some lateral movement. So just place one hand next to you, raise the other arm, and on the in-breath, take a nice little lateral extension sideways with the spine. You're going to come out of it on the in-breath, place the new hand down, and go up and over with the other side. So we're going to deepen into the lateral movement on the exhale and bring ourselves out of it on the inhale. So again, your breath will start to kind of align with the movement pattern you're doing. You're ready to breathe in, you're going to come out of it and transition. And again, as long as you're breathing out, stay in there, even go a little deeper. Just a couple more times to each side. Last one. The next time you're back to center, sit up nice and tall. We're going to be coming into twisting action now. So raising the arms. And on your exhalation, you're going to turn to either side. We're going to move this with each breath today. So just squeezing out one breath. Inhale, raise the arms, lengthen back to center. Exhale, other side. Make sure to prop the hand behind you if you're kind of leaning toward the floor to touch. And be connected with your breath. The breath really determines where you are when. As long as you're exhaling, You're in the twist, and as long as you're inhaling, you're transitioning to the other side. We're going to finish one more twist. So wherever you are, just come into one last twist. And as you're ready, come back to center. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Close your eyes and just kind of breathe your chest into your thumbs. But allow the shoulders to release down. Lengthen up through the top of your head. And of course, looking toward the heart, away from the brain. And we'll open the eyes. Good. So like I said, we're going to bring a lot of attention into the legs today, which is why I wanted to start with the spinal actions so that we can become nice and supple in the spine. But then we're going to turn our attention toward the legs for the rest of the practice and how they really dictate the back bends. So we're going to do 6 actions of the spine once again, but this time from table pose. And of course, if kneeling isn't comfortable for the knees, put a blanket or double up your mat so your knees are comfortable. And again, you're going to begin with flexion and extension of the spine. So on your exhalation, you'll just come into cat tilt. Take the tailbone down, the chin toward the chest. Make your back nice and round. Empty all of your breath. Inhale, soften your elbows, spread the chest nice and wide. Look forward. And try to really line up the rhythm of this movement pattern with your breathing. And just kind of explore your range of motion on each side of the flexion and extension. Notice where there's tension. Maybe some limited mobility. And notice if that starts to change as you repeat the pattern. Let's do it a couple more times. And as you're ready, just find your way back to a neutral spine. Take another in-breath. We'll move laterally now. On the exhale, push your hips right and look left. Inhale through center. Make sure you're lifting your navel towards your spine as you move through the center. Exhale, push the hips left, look right. Inhale, and just honor your body. So you might need less, you might need more. And as long as you're breathing out, you're in this kidney squeeze, lateral movement. And as long as you're breathing in, you're transitioning to center. And now come back to center on the in-breath. We're going to move in a twist. So we'll come into thread the needle for the twist. We'll pick up the right hand and just take it between the left knee and wrist, sliding the length of the arm off to the left, resting on the right side of your head. And you can always prop your head if the floor feels too far away. Slide your left hand forward until the arm is straight. And then transfer some weight to your right side. And imagine you're trying to peel your chest toward the ceiling. Try to keep your hips right above your knees. And if you can keep enough weight pushing into the floor, then you have a little, we talked about blossoming this week, a little blossom of that left arm reaches toward the sky. But make sure you have the roots you need. If you feel like you're kind of being squashed to the floor, maybe don't take that arm up. You should be able to lift and lengthen through that arm with energy. Going further, you might take that left hand to your right hip and just kind of hold to help you turn your chest toward the ceiling even more. But keep pressing down into the floor. Keep deepening those roots. Take the next exhale to completion And then just start to deconstruct it as far as you took it. Place that left hand back to the floor, inhale, and slide that right arm out of position. Just come back to table position. As you feel ready, you can take the left arm through the right limbs, that little window. Get as much of the length through as you can. Rest the left side of your head. Slide the right hand forward, leaning some weight to your left side. Peeling the chest, not only to the right, but starting to let it peek toward the ceiling. Maybe deciding you can take that right hand from the floor and use it to continue deepening the experience of heart opening here. Maybe you need it down to have a better experience. And after an exhalation, if you did move the hand from the floor, return it to the floor. Inhale, bring that left arm through and back to table position. And from here, we're going to come up to standing by way of downward dog. So turn your toes underneath. On an exhale, extend your legs. Bring your chest towards your thighs and bring your thighs back. And try to feel like you're more like an upside down letter V than an upside down letter U. So really keep kind of a sensation of hinging at the hips, lengthening the trunk nice and long, lengthening the legs. And as you're ready, just start to tiptoe toward the wrists. And from there, take your hands onto your hips and come all the way up to standing mountain. Adjust my camera a little bit here. Good. Okay, so join the legs and feet. Put your shoulders in line with your hips. Position your skull above your spine. Close your eyes and bring your attention into your feet. Go back to your standing practice, where we really bring attention from the starting point of where we meet the earth. Connect your feet with balance, with a sense of expansion. Full awareness in your feet. And then keeping awareness still low in the body, move to the legs. And compact your legs from front to back. Squeeze your thigh muscles so that you feel like your kneecaps are really engaged and your knees couldn't be any straighter. Does not mean hyperextending the knees. So keep micro bend if you need to so that you can, some of us are hypermobile. We don't want to be pushing the front knees into the backs of the knees. Keep your quadriceps helping those knees stay in alignment. And then take the middle line of the buttocks toward the front body and take the tailbone into the body toward the front body. And just feel your roots. These are your roots from the waist down. And the extension of the spine is only as good as these roots. Chest is lifted without shortening the lumbar. And the skull stays right over the spine. Think about your face floating toward the back of the head. Good. So if you've been in these wise actions, you might have some fatigue in the legs. That's a good sign. Let's open the eyes and just shake your limbs out. Release your legs, release your arms. And I'm going to have you find your strap. And we're going to do a series of variations on crescent pose so that we really tap into the roots of the pose. And as we do the back bends today, really keep your attention on the roots. So let the back bend be a byproduct of what you're doing with the lower body. So the first piece we're going to do is, and we've done this before, but it's a great reminder. First piece we're going to do is take the strap to the lower back, even ends hanging out, so you have even length to work with. And without any twists, you're gonna pass it around the inner thighs back to your hands behind you. So we're not crossing the strap, they're gonna stay on the same sides. And we wanna use the straps like handles. So your palms should face forward. For a lot of our standing back bends, it's helpful to keep the feet hip distance so we can keep a sense of broadness in the lower back. Okay. One thing to watch out for is you don't want to overcompensate here. What we're using the strap for is to correct the tendency for the legs to splay out. So what I mean is rotating inner thighs towards outer thighs. So we're trying to correct for that, but don't overcorrect. So we don't want to end up knock-kneed. So think about your kneecaps staying pointed forward. If you start to sense the kneecaps are rotating in, you're probably overdoing it. Okay, squeeze the thigh muscles. Establish your Tadasana legs, compacting them front to back, move the tailbone in and take the midline, the horizontal midline of the buttocks towards the front body. Good, start to pull and separate the hands, but keep your arms fully extended. So you're pulling not only down, kind of with gravity in the arms and extension in the arms, but slightly out. Keep moving the tailbone in, compacting the legs front to back. Keeping the lumbar long. Notice your chest is lifted and spread. Let the eyes just travel up the wall in front of you a little bit. And take the back bend slightly farther just based on if those wise actions are still maintained. If they're not, if they start to disintegrate, kind of undo the spinal extension a little bit. And remember, we're not jamming the shoulder blades together. They coil in, the inner tips move toward the chest. The outer tips are not as close to the front body as the inner tips. Keep awareness in your feet, being supple, balanced. Good, just a couple more breaths. The neck is long. The jaw is unhinged, and don't roll the eyes up in the head. And then lift yourself up and out of it. Good. And now we're going to move on to a different variation. Still with the strap, you can take it off the legs. And we know the body, how the body works. We have muscle memory, thank God. So the legs will remember that action. And we'll keep the legs in good alignment. But now we're going to focus on a little bit more power of our root system with the hands separated in the strap, shoulder distance apart, palms facing forward. And before we activate the arms, just activate your legs and feet again. Go into those wise actions. Kneecaps looking forward, center lines of your thighs, vertical center lines are parallel with each other. Okay, so once you have that, then extend the arms fully toward the floor. There's no bend in the elbow. Good. And then bring a little more gravity into the hands. The tailbone in, compact the buttocks forward. Keep spiraling the inner thighs back. Firm your legs, balance your feet. And let the extension of the spine come from feeling very anchored. Now, not only through the legs, but also through these arms, through these hands. And pulling laterally on that strap is helping you lift and spread the chest. Good. And now inhale to come out of it. And you can drop the strap, put it away. So just kind of feeding off of that, we're going to connect the hands now, clasping, which brings the hands closer together, which should give us a sense of even more broadness across the chest. So go ahead and clasp your hands. Go back to your legs and feet. Put something heavy in your hands and draw the arms toward the floor. Good. Fully extended arms. Open the palms like you're holding a brick on the wide aspect of the brick. Let your gaze travel up the wall. And do what you can to keep your legs perfectly extended, your tailbone moving in to keep the lumbar long, and the buttocks moving toward the front body. Keep a sense of spaciousness between the shoulder blades. And as you take the hands with more effort toward the floor, shoot the heart center away from that direction in the opposite direction. Good. And now inhale up and out of it. Release the arms, release those legs if you need to. We're gonna come into final stage 4. So I noticed some of you are shedding clothing. Even though we're not doing a whole lot, like moving big gross movements, I'm getting warm too. All these kind of efforts are creating tapas in the body, creating heat. So we don't have to be bouncing around, jumping around to get that. We're all kind of starting to feel that warmth I see. So we're gonna bring the arms up. Again, look for the full extension of your arms. We don't want a little bent elbow. Straighten the arms, but plug the shoulders into the trunk. Bring awareness back to your feet, your legs, your buttocks, your pelvis, your tailbone. Extend the sides of the torso. Keep your temples descending. And on an exhalation, take the arms slightly back, lift your gaze, but you're just keeping attention on the roots. Again, let the back bend be a byproduct of those roots. See if you can get the biceps any amount farther back behind the ears without disturbing those roots, without disturbing the wise actions. And on an inhale, lengthen back up, and exhale, release your arms. So step the feet together, be in mountain pose, close your eyes, watch your breath. Let the feet sink into the floor. Notice any residual energetic residue from what you've been doing. Notice the breathing. And then we're going to come into our last piece of this, which is bringing the hands into Namaskarasana. So you can go back to separated feet. Go back to Urdhva Hastasana, raising the arms. And then come into your Tadasana actions in your legs and feet, your pelvis, your buttocks, your tailbone. And now join the hands, pressurize the hands, but try to keep the arms fully extended. Keep the shoulders anchored into the torso. And on an exhalation, lift the breastbone, lift the gaze without disturbing the rest of the body. Quiet the temples, soften the jaw. Think about the flesh on your lower back. Try to keep it smooth, not crumpled up. Roll those inner thighs back. Good. And now inhale and lengthen upright and bring the arms down. Beautiful. So wide stance, go even wider, resting Uttanasana, just to kind of bring a little bit of a palate cleanser into the back bending practice. So raising the arms, grab your opposite elbows, lengthen forward. And just kind of dangle, hang freely, suspending the spine, releasing the spine, letting the head become heavier. Good, drop the hands, bend your knees, use your stomach muscles to come up to support your spine. Now we're gonna take some back bends in the kneeling orientation. So oftentimes a blanket is a good idea for the knees. And then I also usually recommend your blocks to give your arms a little more length. And we're going to begin kneeling on the blanket with the right foot forward. The right knee lined up with the right ankle and the left knee and hip lined up. So vertical left thigh bone, vertical right shin bone. And then once you have that, come forward. You might use your blocks for extra arm length. Curl your left toes under and extend the left leg completely. We're not going to be here very long. We just want to get the knee back without dragging the kneecap. So see if you can, from the fully extended left leg, take the knee directly down. If there was a shadow, you're going to place it in the shadow. Good, and then bring those left toes out again. And now let your weight shift forward until you feel the left front thigh opening. Just kind of let your torso come forward. You might see your right knee go beyond the line of the right ankle. In this situation, that's perfectly fine for alignment. We're just kind of trying to suspend the front left thigh, but keep your tailbone turning into the front body, not flying up toward the ceiling. Keep enough pressure in your hands, you're not hanging in your shoulders. So you have a neck, you're not neckless. And try to keep the chest lifted and spread rather than contracting or receding into the back body. Breathe into this. Deepen your breaths. Think about the flesh again on the lumbar. Is it all crumpled up? If so, really drive the tailbone toward the front body. Remember that idea that the tailbone is like a periscope and it wants to see something in front of you. A couple more breaths. And now on the in-breath, you're going to just kind of move some weight back so that we can swap out the legs. So we want to now place the right knee and step the left foot forward. And again, you're going to start lining things up. Left knee above left ankle, vertical left shin bone, and then right hip over right knee, vertical right thigh bone. Come to your blocks or to the floor. Curl the right toes under. And now fully extend the right leg so that there's zero bend in the knee. Full extension of the leg. Good. And now see if you can lower the knee down onto the point that's right over, right above. Turn the right toes out. And now shift your weight forward. Let the left knee float forward until you feel a nice opening opportunity to the front right thigh. Move the tailbone into the body. Pressurize your hands, which might mean you have to come higher. Sometimes we can only recover an opening sensation across the chest if we're a little bit farther up. So just do what you need to do to get your chest lifted and spread. Your neck is in existence. You're not hanging in the shoulders. And give some deep breaths to your front right thigh. Remember, the temples descend. When we work with effort in the upper body or aliveness in the upper body, we tend to kind of have everything fly up, which is why we need some attention to the roots. Soften the temples, soften the gaze, soften the jaw. Two more breaths. And now pressurize the hands enough that you can start to take the weight back. Place that left knee, wide knees. You're going to sit back in child's pose just for a couple moments. Another palate cleanser here. And you can use your hands or fists to place your forehead if the ground is feeling too far away. We talk about no extreme counter poses, and child's pose and downward dog are really nice and neutral forward bends when you're in a back bending practice. Let's see where we are on time. Okay, good. So if you're ready, you can start to find your way to kneeling, and we're going to kind of transition to a few versions of Ustrasana, camel pose, kind of mimicking what we did with the standing crescent poses. So we're going to go back to strapping the legs so that we can feel the rotation of the inner thighs, but this time from the kneeling position. And again, it's best to kind of try to start with even length on the sides. And then you're going to take those, once you have the strap running across the lower back, just kind of take the ends along the inner thighs, pass them back, and grab in the underhanded way, so your palms face forward. And so we want the hips to be in line with the knees. And we want to feel some effort in the lower legs, which you kind of at first glance, they're just sitting there. So try to bring a little effort by drawing your small toes into the floor and anchoring the front shins toward the floor and rolling the outer shins toward the floor especially. And then you're going to start to move your tailbone in and extend your arms fully, so there's no bend in the elbow, and gravitate the hands toward the floor. And as you coil the shoulder blades in, remember, don't jam them together, and think about the flesh of the lumbar. Keep it long, drive the tailbone in, tip of the tailbone in. Let your gaze travel up the wall. Compress the midline of the buttocks forward and compact your front thighs back. Good, and now inhale, lift and lengthen out of it. You can release the strap out from between the legs, but we're gonna keep using it just like we did earlier. If you need to kind of refresh your legs, you can sit down in hero pose. Otherwise, hinge forward in child's pose. Just kind of take a moment if you need it. And then we'll come into that version where we're separating the hands, but we're still kind of resisting them apart, just like we do in the clasp, except we're giving a little more room here in this first version. So palms face forward, hands are shoulder distance apart, and fully extend your arms. Start with that, fully extend your arms, bring some gravity, like the hands are coming closer to the floor, shoulder blades coil in, feel your hips above your knees, move the buttocks forward as you take the thighs front to back, and let the breastbone be counter to what you're doing with your arms and hands. So the roots for the breastbone are the arms and hands. Shoot the breastbone up, look up slightly, and keep attention on the lower half. Small toes down, inner thighs back. Nice. Inhale, lift and lengthen out of it. It looks really good. And now just making it a little bit more compact, which is one of the definitions of advanced yoga, keeping spaciousness as we make the body more compact. So you'll join the hands, take your alternate clasp this time. Again, fully extend your arms and separate the palms and bring some gravity, like the hands are coming closer to the floor. Okay, wise actions. Let your back bend, watch your back bend evolve and blossom out of those wise actions, out of those roots. Maybe it's just a little bud. Maybe it's just a little sprout, not even a bud. There's a great quote, don't rob the instinct of the body for the glory of the pose. And the glory of most poses is a big blossom, right? But maybe we have to start with a little sprout. Good. Inhale, lift and lengthen out of it. And exhale, either sitting in Vajrasana or you could rest in child's pose. And if you like sitting on your heels, but it's just too far to sit, you might throw a bolster over your heels or a blanket or a block. Good. So we're going to finish with the last version of Ustrasana, which classically is grabbing for the heels, but I wanted to kind of mimic what we did for standing crescent. So we're going to take the arms up. Once you have established that kind of kneeling position. Take your arms up, fully extend your arms. And first, just beginning with hands separated. Wrists are shoulder distance. Okay, so go back to your roots. Take an inhale. On your exhale, lift and spread the chest. Keep the gaze soft, the eyes resting toward the back of the head, the temples descending. Maybe draw the biceps back behind the ears a little bit if you don't rob those wise actions down below. And on an in-breath, lift up, back to neutral spine, and release the arms down. We're going to do it once more with the prayer position, Namaskarasana. So just refresh yourself momentarily. And then as you're ready, we'll take the arms up. Press the hands together, keep the arms straight. Keep the shoulders deep into the trunk. Don't let the shoulders fly up to the fingertips. Keep them down. Inhale here, exhale. Let the chest open, but really keep attention in the lower half. Pressurize your hands to keep the shoulder girdle broad, the chest broad. Good. And now inhale, lift up, come out of it, exhale, sweep the arms down. And now come back to child's pose, knees wide, feet together, the head resting on the ground, your hands, your fists, whatever works for you. And as you feel ready, we're going to transition to some prone back bends and just taking a moment to fold a blanket so that it's going to be some padding for your pubic bone, your pelvis, and your hips. So you don't need a lot of surface area. So I usually work with either the rectangular blanket, or sometimes I do a double version of that, but this blanket's pretty thick, so I don't want to do all that cushion. That's a little too much. It will misalign me. So I'm just going to come onto my rectangular blanket and just start with your elbows down. And we're going to just bring the attention back to the legs and feet. So you're propped up on your elbows. Don't worry about alignment in the upper body right now. You're going to curl your toes underneath. And do it several times on each foot until you feel like your toes are as tucked under as you can get them to be. A lot of us have small toes dangling, so don't treat that as, an excuse to just be passive. Try to bring some effort to your toes, really moving toward the top of your mat. So as the toes reach toward the top of the mat, extend your heels back. And there's your fully extended legs. So kneecaps shouldn't be on the floor. Your toes are tucked under. Good. Take your tailbone into your body so that you feel more pressure of your pelvis into the floor. Compact your legs front to back and move the buttocks into the floor. These look great. So for these poses, we don't have toes tucked under, but what we're doing now activates the legs in the way that we want them to work for these prone back bends. So you're going to kind of establish this with toes tucked under, but then return to the tops of your feet. So your toes are resting on the floor. You want to keep the feeling of the tailbone pressing into the floor, the buttocks moving into the floor, and the thighs compressing front to back. And now we're going to come into locust pose. So you can ground your forehead on your stacked hands. Fully extend your legs, roll your outer thighs down, lift your inner groins up. Keep your right leg grounded to the floor as it is. And on an exhale, float your left leg slightly off the floor. And as the leg rises, try to keep the ankle in line with the hip. Try to keep the lumbar flesh from crinkling up. So take the tailbone deep into the body and keep working the wise actions of both legs. Both legs are extended. Good, you're lifting that left leg, but you're more concerned with extension of the leg from the hip joint out through the foot than how high the leg is. Lower the left leg, bend your knees, and sweep the legs back and forth. Just kind of clear tension from the body, release, effort, refresh. Good. If you need to, go back to tucking the toes under to kind of reactivate the legs, fully extend the legs, take the tailbone into the floor, and then turn back to the tops of the feet. Just a nice way to come in back to the action of the legs. Pressurize your left leg into the floor. Rest your forehead. And on an exhale, start to lengthen the right leg from the floor. Keep both legs fully extended. Keep the ankle in line with the hip. Keep driving the tailbone into the floor. Be more concerned with the length of the leg than the height from the floor. And on an exhale, release the leg down, bend your knees, and sweep the legs back and forth. Great. Okay, now cobra pose. We're trying to activate the back bend with the upper body as an anchor. We just did. Now with the lower body as an anchor. And then we'll come into a modified bow pose to kind of put it all together. So now the lower body is going to be the anchor. So again, if you need to reactivate your legs, tuck the toes under, fully extend the legs, take the tailbone into the floor, and then turn the feet out. We're going to place our hands next to the lower ribs on the rib cage, and then squeeze the elbows in slightly so that your shoulders broaden, your chest broadens. Find the wise actions in your lower half. Keep the tailbone really into the floor, and on an exhale, just push a little bit into the floor to take a back bend. And if you're in the wise actions, you shouldn't have a lot of pressure on the hands and wrists. In fact, you should be able to lift your hands quickly from the floor and not lose the pose. That's a good little test to do. Keep shooting the heart center forward and keep bringing attention back to the legs. And exhale, release. Cross your arms, rest one of your cheeks, bend your knees, and sweep the legs back and forth. Come back to legs extended and activated. By the way, the feet are separated hip distance, if I didn't say that already. And now clasp your hands behind your back. Hands resting on the low back or buttocks is a good reminder. Push your hands into your butt back, push your tailbone into the floor, and move the flesh of the buttocks from the upper to the lower. Extend your arms completely. Roll your small toes down, and on an exhale, bring the chest away from the floor slightly, but then take your attention immediately back to your legs, your feet, your lower back. One more inhale, the exhale will take you down. Use your arms again as a pillow and rest your other cheek. So kind of the through line of this month's practice is how much support we gain from fully extended limbs. And so for our modified bow, all four limbs are going to be stick straight. So no bent elbows, no bent knees. We're going to bring the arms out in front of us. Rest on your small finger side first. And because the fulcrum, the resting point, is really the center body, make sure that you're right now taking the pelvic tilt. So you're tipping the pelvis from front to back, tailbone moves into the floor. On an exhalation, pick up all four limbs, pull the shoulders back into the trunk, shoot your chest forward, keep the palms facing so that you're, yep, good, Mary. Lift your inner thighs, roll your outer hips down, stick straight limbs. See what that does for you. Soften your temples. Exhale, let it go. Bring yourself to the floor. Cross your arms one last time. Rest your cheek, either cheek. Sweep the legs back and forth. Good. Okay, transitioning. So we're now going to come into the fourth and final segment of this practice, which will be some reclining back bends. And I know not everybody has a bolster at home. So if that's the case for you, and my bolster is actually off camera, so I'm going to work with a blanket. You can just roll a blanket. We're going to come into a modified Paryankasana, which is a great little back bend. So you can make a little roll with your blanket or use your bolster. And then you want a little head support. And then if you have additional blocks or blankets, we're coming into either cross-legged position or bound angle if you're able to. So bound angle is a little bit more opening for the hips and groins. If you're able to, you'll take bound angle. Otherwise, you can take Sukhasana cross-legged. But we're going to try to position this round prop, bolster or blanket, so it's right behind the sternum. And then the head gets the block. And you can, take any height of the block you need so that your chin angles toward your chest. And if you need to, you're going to prop your thighs, your knees, your hips, so that you have the support you need. We don't want to put the body in kind of the fighting back mode. So we want to create support so that we can elongate, we can release tension. We're not just setting up a new tension pattern in the body. And then because we have this horizontal round prop, you need to open the arms a little wider so that you can clear space for the arms to come down. Make sure your head is supported in a way that the chin tilts toward the chest. So you might need to take the block higher. And so we're coming into a more passive back bend where we're relying on props and gravity and the shape of the body to help us open this area in the chest. So once you've set this up, you should be able to really deactivate throughout the body and still receive a nice amount of benefit. And keep your gaze pointed toward your cheeks. Keep a sense of spaciousness inside of your mouth. Anchoring the attention into the breath, the waves of breath. And so we talk about blossoming from mud. And the only way to do that really is through acceptance of what is. And just taking some time now to just be in this very moment without the resistance, without the if-onlys, without that compulsion to tweak and change. And now we're going to join the knees. Shift to either side of your body. Bring yourself up just long enough that you can transition to a supported bridge pose. So you're going to prop the lower back. And if your strap isn't nearby, you don't need to worry about that. You can just grab the edges of your mat. If your strap is right there, you might prefer to grab the mat and kind of resist the hands. I'm sorry, grab the strap and resist your hands apart. But either way, we're going to grab something, mat or strap, and help the shoulders kind of come down to the floor by lifting the shoulder blades toward the chest. And then align your shin bones so the ankles come right under the knees and the toes are directly in line with the heels. Fully extend your arms using that strap or your mat. Try to get your arms straight and curl the tailbone up to the ceiling. Let your chin close in on that little pocket between your collarbones. And if you're grabbing your mat, keep trying to roll your thumbs out. So as if you're trying to turn the palms up. So you might end up with your hands kind of slightly under your mat so that we can keep the outer upper arms rolling down. And for some of us, this is a lot. You're going to stay here. For others, you can begin to explore extending the legs, resting on the heels, extending the legs out on the floor, heels on the floor, and aligning the toes above the heels, taking the kneecaps deep into the legs so your legs can't be any straighter, arms can't be any straighter. Inner thighs rolling down. And again, think about the flesh of the lumbar staying wrinkle-free. This is our last active pose, so just take a few moments to see if you can find repose in the pose. You can find the meditative side of the pose. You're sustaining the effort, but the brain is quiet and settled. Now to leave the pose if the legs have been extended, begin to bend the knees one at a time. You can release the strap or the grip on your mat. Lift your hips and slide your block out from under you. Resting the sacrum. Drop it into the floor. Let it sink down into the floor. Restore some of that natural lumbar curve. And then we'll hug the legs into the body for child's pose, reclining child's pose. Palate cleanser. Just a few more exhales, tucking the chin toward the chest. And we'll finish with some soft and gentle ringing action on the spine. So place your feet down and wide. Knees fall in together, hands rest on the belly. On an exhale, sweep the knees to one direction, the head to the other. And follow your breath. Inhale, transition to center. And exhale, knees go one way, head in the other. So you're to this side as long as you're exhaling. You're really trying to line this up with your breathing rhythm. The feet stay wide, but they do rock from side to side. So let the feet rock, but keep them wide. And do it as many more times as you need. And when you feel ready, you'll come to center with the knees. And you'll start to set up for final resting pose. So gather whatever you need. Maybe taking some support behind the knees to help your lower back quiet down. Maybe taking some support under the head, over the eyes, over the body. Take some time with that position, reclining fully on the floor. Just kind of lengthen the legs away from the torso, separate the feet nice and wide. Try to move the flesh of your buttocks toward the feet. Open the arms wide enough that your arms don't touch your torso. Make sure your head is adjusted to encourage the back of the neck to lengthen toward the floor. Make sure the body does not have to work at all to be here. And with your eyes gently closed, look toward your cheeks. With every exhale, allowing more of your own weight to settle into the floor. Now the entire back body has the potential for rooting action down. We're dropping into whatever is there. In the case of the lotus flower, it's mud. Lotus flower would not bloom if it was resistant to that mud. So embrace what is here and now beneath you, supporting you. And with a letting go of gripping, a letting go of resistance. We don't have to actively open. The opening occurs in proportion to those roots deepening and strengthening. The rooting is the action, the opening is the byproduct. Give your attention fully to your experience. Let some deeper breaths start to pass through. When the time is right, cycling back to unconditioned breathing, the breath that breathes you. And just start to move in small and simple ways, easing yourself out of the pose, restoring only enough effort that will help you come to either side of your body. Once you're there, take a little time there, dropping back into zero effort. And then see if you can make your way to seated. Again, just what you need to get there without disturbing yourself more than necessary. Come to seated. Establishing your strong seat, establishing a sense of foundation in yourself. Join your hands in front of your heart. Let's take a deep breath together through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to the next time we meet. Louise, I figured out why your video said that. It's because I changed the setting to start recording immediately, which I think I will undo because we want to have our little banter before class. So we won't need to record that. But I think that's why that happened to you. So, all right, everyone, have a great day and I'll see you next time.